Good morning, everybody. It's Cliff London. Today, I'm not really going to talk about something that is important to mainstream. I'm going to talk about something that is very specific to nerd and geek culture, which I am a part of. I mean, in case you can't tell by the things in the background. And with that said, I'm going to start off today talking about the final installment of Star Wars. Now, I'm going to try to curb my anger, lots of disappointment more than anger, and try to give some honest criticism of the movie, though it is going to be harsh, though it is going to include spoilers. So if you have not yet seen the movie and you actually care about this so-called Star Wars movie that they put out, then please do not watch this video. That being said, let's get into the final installment, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and why it was called that. To me, it seems like they thought the title was catchy, and then later on had to justify it in the script, because once you see the movie, you're going to be like, what? How is it the fucking called The Rise of Skywalker? Should have been called The Rise of Palpatine, actually. Anyway, let's start. I was going to start positive, but you see, there it goes. It just bleeds out of this fucking piece of shit film. Bleeds out of it. But the positives are actually, there's two positives. And I know I'm going to get torn up in the comments section for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Daisy Ridley, that plays Rey, I believe her name is Daisy Ridley. If I'm wrong, sorry, who gives a fuck, because the movie sucked anyways. But I believe her name is Daisy Ridley. The woman can act. Okay, the girl, she's got chops, and thank goodness for her that she's going to have a career after this thing. Also, if you're one of those people that are into special effects and seeing this at the theater, oh my God, the film is an absolute marvel of spectacle and everything. But of course, if it's funded by Disney, you should at least give people that, since you've abandoned the story and script completely. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy. So those are the only two positives. Daisy Ridley, special effects and cinematography. Oh, the sound was great. So that's three. The sound was great, I thought. But then again, that might have been due to the theater I was at. But the theater that I was at, you guys, it wasn't state of the art. It was a small local theater here in Illinois. And I would say every theater maybe seats 120. And the one that we were in on a Saturday night was less than half full. So that's kind of a loose gauge on how well the movie is received. But that's what happens when you screw up beloved storylines that fans have loved for 40-something years, for fucked up ass politics involving in your fantasy sci-fi shit. It doesn't go well with people unless you do it well. Anyway, so Rise of fucking Skywalker. First things first. These people screwed themselves when writing this because they ignored the other storylines. Totally. And then tried to scramble back and patch everything. This film is kind of like, I don't know if any of you ever watched Scooby-Doo, but you ever watch Scooby-Doo when Shaggy and Scooby make those big ass sandwiches with everything on it, and then they have to squeeze it down and shove it in their mouth? That's pretty much what this movie was. I mean, it really tried, but it really just screwed things up. It had, when the hell did Leia go through any Jedi training? Can somebody let me know? I mean, was it in a book? Was it in an alternate universe? I mean, that's another thing. They screwed this movie up, and it has such a body of work behind it. Books, cartoon, 6 other movies, Lucas still being alive, Mark Hamill still being alive, Billy D. Williams still being alive. So you had everything. You probably wouldn't have even had to write the movie if you just let you sit down and let these guys do it. But instead, you had Kathleen Kennedy that wants to get in there and make it female, which uh, I don't know. I bet you could have done it, and no one would have even noticed, except she had to come out with the stupid shirt on. But anyways, um, oh, the script was horrible. Billy D. Williams was being in it, coming back as Lando was a complete joke. They were reaching, and all he did was go. He did. Watch when he comes on screen. I'm in the Millennium Falcon again. I remember when me, Han, and Chewie sucked. Oh, and another thing. Fight choreography. There is not a word to describe the freshman year college stage combat style of choreography that was in this movie. They tried to cover up the shit choreography with lots of sounds and shit, like and explosions and in slow motion, but it still sucked. I mean, Daisy really should have worked on it more, and so should the weird ass Paul Pfeiffer from Wonder Years looking Kylo Ren. Should have done more with the fight choreography, because they just both look goofy and uncoordinated, and it looks like there was more planned, but they had to like simplify it because they were having problems. But it could be a number of things with this movie. It could have been the editing. I mean, who knows? Who knows? You will see when you see it. But anyway, Daisy really looked horrible in the fight choreography. She barely knows how to hold that lightsaber. It's like she really didn't research it at all. It's like, I don't know. After all this time, and she's supposed to be so good at everything, automatically, she still lacked. You know, maybe that was because of lack of training, and maybe that was intentional, but I'm not going to give Abrams that credit, or, you know, or her. I think they just both were lacking. Another thing, and you guys in the comment section tell me this, is it me, or is the whole forced wound healing thing new? Is that just some more shit that they threw in? Or was that always a thing? I mean, like, I love the franchise. I mean, I got Jedi Council tattoo, which I've had for years, by the way. I'm just wondering, because I saw that, I'm like, oh god, oh god. So here at the end of the thing, now you're gonna introduce this new power now. So if that was always, you know, maybe it existed in a parallel universe or some shit, because I know, like I said before, there's a wealth of material to draw from on this film. It has always been, you know, back to the meat of the movie, this plot was very loose, lots of plot holes. I mean, for me to even go into it, you know, as I'm trying to go through it in my mind, I'm going, well, no, none of that made sense. Somehow, this movie was called The Rise of Skywalker, but there's not a real Skywalker in it, not a blood Skywalker. You know, spoiler alert, some fucking how, Rey is a fucking Palpatine? First of all, who the fuck let that old gangly cosmic liver spotted dick penetrate them in order to make Rey? And how did Rey come out so attractive from Emperor Palpatine, and whoever had super duper fucking beer goggles on to jump on that? Because he was never, I'm telling you, Palpatine was never a looker, quote unquote. Anyway, and Kylo Ren is a Solo, right? So this movie's called Rise of Skywalker, and I'll tell you why right now. It was just to get people to go and see this movie. Skywalker is a very popular name. Even if you don't like Star Wars, people know the name. Ooh, Luke Skywalker. So this being called Rise of Skywalker, it was a genius move on Disney's part, because it invokes feelings of nostalgia, and it makes you, and it also, for me, I wasn't going to go see the shit at all because I've been so disappointed. But for me, I thought, okay, maybe they're going to right the ship somehow. There's no way to really right the ship with what's been done with the franchise, but at least not go out with the whimper that it did. And believe me, it did go out with a whimper. But instead, it seemed like this attempt by J.J. Abrams to make it sort of indie, sort of, ooh, I'm going to be mysterious with it. I'm going to get cute with it. You know, kind of like Matt Nagy does on 3rd and 1, deciding to throw a bubble screen when you should just run the fucking thing. You know, this is kind of what a lot of what he did with these things in Star Wars. A bunch of reaching, a bunch of gimmicks, a bunch of horrible, horrible storytelling, shoddy character development. I mean, I really want to like Finn and all these people, but you can't, because they didn't do a decent segue from the old cast. They didn't do a true passing of the torch. It was just this broken, weird ass saga of unlinear shit happening through the entire since The Last Jedi, basically. And what tore this movie apart, and what really tore them apart, is that, you know, the people that are in charge didn't really give a fuck about the story itself. You know, they deemed it as something for quote unquote old white men. And so they felt the need to inject this feminism in it. And you know what? Hey, I'm all about the rights of, you know, women. Don't get me wrong on that. I'm just saying that I don't recall women ever giving a shit about Star Wars en masse anyway. I mean, I know that there are some, but for the most part, when you approach a woman nowadays, she ain't gonna know about Star Wars. Sorry, ladies, it's not that fucking normal. The ones of you that do like it, I applaud you. You're great. The old ones anyway. But back to my point is that it was a perfect example of how they cared more about putting their politics in this movie than actually sticking to the story, because they just, like, certain stuff like Princess Leia was already a strong female character, but for some reason they had to make her masculine all of a sudden, make it that she was trained, that her and Luke were training to be Jedis back in the day, when they do have a flashback of that happening, and I'm going, what? And so they just stuck that in there for some reason. Like, they had to give they had to make her a Jedi. She never showed it in the other series. I mean, they screwed the character of Leia up from the moment that she died in space on what was it? Whatever the last crap they made, when she was all of a sudden didn't die in space floating, and all of a sudden she magnetized herself back into the fucking ship. Seriously? And she dies in this movie, and rather easily. It's like, wait a minute, if you're that powerful, then all of a sudden a little, whatever the fuck the reason why she had to do what she did, there was no reason for her to do it. I'm not going to give that away. But she dies in it. But the way she dies is just so stupid. But anyways, it's almost as if instead of passing the torch in the right way, you could have made another couple of movies just out of, you know, because it should have been, Rey should have been on that island with Luke training. Straight up. Instead of him eating leaves and poking her with trees and shit. Okay? That's what should have happened. We should have seen all of that. Okay? But instead of doing that, they cared more about dumping these characters that were important to all of us, and either getting rid of them altogether, or, for lack of a better term, demoting them, almost making the male characters kind of like sidekicks, almost. And again, hey, I have no problem with women in film, stuff like that, but what I'm saying is I just don't understand the need to come and wreak havoc on these things that people love, and then expect it to be received when you don't care about telling the story. You just care about demeaning the male characters, demoting the male characters, and therefore you demoted the literature and the source material of the movie. Moral of the story is you should keep politics out of the damn sci-fi. Now, I know that there are undertones and stuff, and there are lots of examples of how this is cool. Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse, you know, it parallels our real life world, but the way that they do it in this movie is, you know, it's like, Ray, I feel you in my presence. Hold up. By the way, this is a strong woman character in the movie. Scene. Then they go back to the movie. I mean, it's like these... It's so badly done. And it doesn't seem that it happens authentically or organically. And that's the result of bad writing. Okay? When you have good writers, you know, you just kind of go, you know, like, for example, Stephen King's The Dark Tower is one of the best ways you could say how a sci-fi mirrors our world without actually mentioning anything in our world. It's almost done so well that you think of it after the fact, what was going on. But this, they're just really, really, really bad at subtext and context in doing it. You know, J.J. Abrams can blow shit up, but I just think that if you look at Hollywood these days, there hasn't really, no one's really writing anything. Everything is a remake. So you're not really getting, no one's been really writing their own shit. They're either regurgitating or remaking something. That is the majority of a film coming out. And the shit that wins Oscars is some foreign shit that nobody watches or even cares about or has even seen, or a remake of a musical or some sort. The reason why I decided to do this video today really is because I know that a lot of people won't give two shits, but it is sort of depressing, someone being my age and remembering from the beginning what the franchise was, and then just like now, it symbolized what happened with Star Wars symbolizes the cultural shift in real life. You know, a lot of people who think they're tolerant and diverse really aren't tolerant. They're just punishing people because of some guilt they have themselves, and now this shit is seeped into entertainment. So there's no escape from it. You know? And that's what the movie made me think about, is how what tore this movie up? Weird ass leftist. I mean, they not literally, but by their existence and their, you know, bullying. I also gonna put a little bit of this shit on a lot of this shit on Weinstein. You know, Weinstein why couldn't you fucking, you know, God, pick a different era where Star Wars was passed or something? I don't fucking know. Jeez, man. Because that kind of his shit kind of started this cascade of stuff like Ghostbusters coming out, because it was Hollywood's way of apologizing for letting him be the slime ball that he was and is this whole time. Because see, this is what they're trying to cover up. This is why you're seeing these female characters, and kudos, because if I know how it is to try and work as an actress, so kudos. Hey, ladies, take the fucking job. It don't really matter how you got the job. Even, hey, I get it. You know, I'm not saying I would take the fucking job either. But, however, again, I think all this could be cured with decent writing. I really, 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 really do. You can do this shit right if you have good writers, because they definitely have the money to throw at the fucking thing. But Harvey Weinstein shit started this whole cascade of things like this, to where they don't even have to write it good anymore. All it has to do is have some women in it, and if you don't like it, if you criticize it, you don't like women. Well, I say fuck that. You can still criticize this stuff. It's what quote-unquote art is supposed to be, open to interpretation and criticism. You obviously took a lot of merit, and wrong word. You actually took a lot of leeway when you remade or ripped off the story, so I'll be ready for criticism. But all these movies like this, these modern day remakes where they just they're about like emasculating men or hijacking the culture to preach the comic book nerd culture to preach their message. Because that's another thing, me growing up and stuff in those teen and 20 years and shit, Girls don't care about this stuff, really. I mean, not a lot of them. Of course, there are some. You know, I've been to Comic-Cons and stuff. There are some, but it's not like in abundance. Don't fool yourself. Sorry, it's the truth. It is. But in short, I just got to say, because I got to get off here because it's been 20 minutes. And if you've watched the video this long, thank you very much. And also, if you like the channel, please comment, rate, share, subscribe to the channel, and please discuss this in the comments section, right? Is it Harvey Weinstein's fault? Did he start the cascade for the shit that is sci-fi movies right now? Yeah, that's all I have to say. Star Wars was a terrible, terrible end to a saga that deserves so much better. Mark Hamill deserved better. Carrie Fisher deserved better. Billy D. Williams, I think you sold yourself out for going, I'm gender fluid. Gender fluid, I'll fuck anybody. I know that's not what that means, but whatever. It was just such an obvious ploy because at 80-something years old, you're out of the game. At 80-something years old, you're just worried about shitting correctly. Being gender fluid, dude, cheap. You probably got an interview and you got paid for it. You sold yourself out. I hope you got paid for it. It was good seeing you in the film, but it was corny as fuck, and I'm pretty sure all your old ass could remember is gender fluid. Anyway, please subscribe, rate, comment, share. It's fucking Monday. My mouth still hurts from the goddamn dentist, but still, remember, there is no fate but what we make for ourselves. I'm Cliff London. Good morning, everybody. Have a good day.